traditional list. However, looking over at Tords, he's sort of going for a new evolution of this Buzzwole list.
Yeah, well, so we saw it yesterday. There's no Lele in here. There's 2 Super Rod. So they've gone for a kind of more aggressive build, and they've also got another basic fighting energy, because their thinking was, we've talked about it, that Buzzwole can have kind of clunky hands and kind of brick a little bit. So they thought, look, yes, there are some nice cards. Lele is obviously a really nice out, but you don't always have the bench space. You need to have both Diancie and Regirock and attackers and artillery and Lycanrocs out. So to make the space for this, they've had to kind of find a larger field of kind of supporters. They've got their support accounts, and they have also managed to work out the kind of way of working their way through this. So they're also playing 4 baby Buzzwole. I believe the other list is only playing 1?
2.
So the 2 non-GX Buzzwole. And it's a really tricky matchup for them, because with it being kind of the preferred starter for these lists now, it's actually, if you always now need to max out your non-GX attacker accounts just so that you can keep the trade going, because if your opponent has access to it and you don't, it becomes an awful lot more difficult. However, with things like the Mew, and he's also put the Giratina in here, of going, no, I will not lose to Frogs.
I will not lose to Greninja. I refuse.
So we're getting pronunciation tips, because the very British way of saying these names is not necessarily correct.
Yuri.
Juraj. Okay.
Juraj. Apologies to everyone at home. Apologies. Okay, Juraj, apologies to everyone at home for mispronunciation.
So
but
the really awkward thing is I actually know him because he occasionally comes to my local cups, but I don't think I've ever actually played against him. But we're seeing everyone set up, and oh dear, Juraj's prices don't look very good.
Oh my gosh. Well, just to kick off, obviously we're going to start the game now. I think Tord won the coin flip here. No, completely wrong.
So having 4 of his, I believe it's 9 basic energy prized, makes Elixirs and Beast Rings a little bit more difficult.
As well as having the Diancie prize there, that's going to make maxing out this damage a lot harder for him, making these knockouts on Buzzwoles very reliant on strong energy and beast
and
energy.
The Regirock.
And the Regirock,
so
just to add that on top.
He's managed to prize nearly half of his energy, basic energy, and he's also prized both of his damage boost options, which means that he's yet in a really awkward situation of his Elixirs and Beast Rings, to something that he really relies on throughout the course of the game to kind of keep tempo on options, and he also doesn't have any way of actually getting more damage out than maybe 50 at a time.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, really. I think he's noticed now that his damage buffing Pokemon are in the prizes. I don't know if he noticed yet that 4 of his energy were in there. I'm sure he noticed a few were missing, but maybe not to the extent of 4. Looking over at Tord's prizes, though, I would say that pretty nice.
They're pretty standard. There's nothing in there that you're particularly worried about.
1 max elixir, but obviously that's going to be just as effective late game as it is early in the game. So it's a case of just him sweeping through those. I think everything in there is effective when he grabs it. Nothing's really going to hurt him by hitting it at the wrong time. So Tord's prize is looking amply better than Yuri's prizes, unfortunately for him.
Also, the big thing here is, this is exactly why you play such a high count of the non-GX Buzzwole, is you can afford to prize 1 and still have access to 3. And once he hasn't started it here, he's started the Rockruff, he could be in a position to start them in more games than his opponent. And whilst some form of discussion about the Cynthia. And we see...
He hits 2 Beast Ring. That is not very nice for him. We mentioned this a lot of times yesterday. Hitting those in the early game, really, really painful for yourself. You don't want to be doing that at all, simply because they do not become active until halfway through the game. Tord's hand looking slightly nicer. I see a few elixirs sitting in there.
Tord's hand's actually really nice, because he's actually in a position, if I'm correct, to take a knockout on this Mew.
Yeah, I think, he's in a position.
Attach to the active elixir, he can choose, probably, I assume he's going to go for the non-GX Buzzwole here. It's actually the preferred attacker early in this matchup. and he can take the knockout on the Mew. However, that may not be what he wants to do here, because he may want to just go, right, the start is not great for my opponent, and maybe playing that Brooklet Hill can come back to haunt him, because now Juraj has a free access to the Remoraid, he has free access to most of his deck, so he may go, maybe this is not ideal, but unfortunately it's something you have to do to be able to take the knockout and kind of set yourselves up. See Tord taking extra time here to check his prize cards. I think a fair few players do this where day one, at least for the first couple of rounds of day one, they're still trying to get into the habit of making sure they're super thorough, but when you make top 32, you want to make sure you know what all 6 of those cards are.
Yeah. You literally have to be sure in this matchup. Obviously, Juraj doing the same thing, not finding anything too great in there, to be honest with you, as a lot of it is prized. However, Tord looking through, much more plain sailing for him. All of the cards he needs are there for him to have a really effective first turn. So we see the Baby Buzz hit the field and the Ultra Ball come down. I imagine we're going to see a Diancie here.
I imagine so.
Yeah,
he's in a position where if he can hit the... he has Elixir, I believe, still in hand. He can quite comfortably retreat it, take the knockout, and he's, in a fairly nice position. He even has the float stone, he doesn't even need to do anything like that.
And he hits the N as well.
So actually, this makes a lot of sense. So I was talking about the Brooklet Hill maybe being something that would be a gift for Juraj, but actually, in having the N, you knew Juraj's hand wasn't good. He didn't play anything after he Cynthia'd. But now, giving him access to the Brooklet Hills doesn't matter, because he could, if you had to end in that turn anyway, he's as likely to draw into parts he wants. So this makes a lot of sense in terms of it doesn't matter too much here.
Yeah, as well as that, I think the Brooklet Hill is important, simply because Tord wants to get rid of this Mew as quickly as possible. From what I can see from Juraj's list, he plays 1 Super Rod. That obviously puts Mew back into his deck and not into his hand as well. Tord wants to deal with the threat of Mew as quickly as possible. He knows that it can cause him problems, even with his low HP that it's got, as it can hit him for weakness. So getting rid of this Mew early game is actually going to be very good for Tord, being able to then not have to play around that Mew as hard. He'll be able to see when it's back in the deck when the Super Rod hits the field, and of course then be a little bit more cautious when it's back in the deck. However, the Mewtwo comes into the active, and I think we might just see a Sledgehammer for the knockout. Tord drawing a prize there, and Juraj now having to pick up his tempo a little bit. He's got an Elixir in hand. I imagine that we are going to see that played, but chances are he's going to hit it.
Super awkward again. He's got the Ultra Ball and he's got a Giratina, which is definitely going. But I think he has 2 Sycamore, but he's already discarded 1 Sycamore off an Ultra Ball. So here he is going to want to thin his hand down, because you might as well get value from these cards. But he's going to be running out of supporters, and since he's already off to quite a slow start and is going to struggle to take prizes without the damage boosters, he's not going to have ready access to cards throughout the course of this game. So it looks like Juraj's approach here is a case of, look, I'll just use the GX. I think he's very much of the mind that the non-GX Buzzwole is just for that full price turn, to be able to take the big knockout. Whereas they're kind of gone for 2 very different philosophies in building these lists. So, we see an Elixir.
He actually hits the Elixir.
Which is pretty impressive.
Which is pretty lucky for himself. I don't think he realises how lucky he is in that situation, but he really is. Only 5 energy in his deck for him to hit. Actually 4 energy in his deck for him to hit, as there's one already attached. And he actually pulls that off, so he must be pretty ecstatic right now. However, going back to the GX Buzzwoles, I personally think the Baby Buzz is the way to go in this matchup. A 1 prize trade for a 2 prize trade, forcing Juraj to hit into that 4 and 3 turns for Tord to be able to start getting Beast Rings down, and of course being able to use Sledgehammer for a lot more effective damage. Whereas Tord now has actually taken 1 prize, meaning that if he is able to take 2, he'll skip over the Sledgehammer altogether.
Yeah, and honestly, in this situation, Tord's kind of going to be able to kind of slow roll this game. With access to more of the Buzzwole, he can now kind of steadily set up, whereas Juraj's really going to have to find a strong turn immediately to just kind of come into this. Like, he has no damage boosters, he has no strong energy or beast energy down. So this attack, there we go. So we see the strong energy to the active. I actually like the attachment here because this actually puts some pressure back on Tord. it basically says, look, you need to start preparing to deal with this, because otherwise I'm just going to touch another energy next to it. I'll manually charge this thing up. And once I've manually charged this thing up, I'm just going to start taking prizes.
I don't think the pressure's on that much, simply because it's one prize. Tord's already a prize up. So it means that they're going to become level at worst case scenario. But as we said, Tordy is going to be looking to take the 2 prizes, simply because that skips over his Sledgehammer altogether. I don't think Tord wants to be targeting down anything else but that Buzz in the active anyway. So as long as he is able to hit the energy he needs and start setting up, he can take that Buzz out, meaning he's put himself in a really good position. Yes, Juraj can activate his B strings, but it does mean he's going to activate them and take just another 1 prize off a baby Buzzwole that Tord has ample amounts of access to with his 2 Super Rod and playing the 4 count of. And then, of course, Tord can then come in late game with his own Buzzwole GX and start doing an ample amount of damage himself. I imagine we will see either a Remoraid hit the board here or another baby Buzz, depending on how Tord's feeling.
So actually, after yesterday's games, we were going to go and get some food, and he was going to go get some food with Tord, and he was just like, right, so the plan in this mirror is you get the fish, you kill the fish, get rid of the fish. They can't draw cards, you win. But he's actually going, this turn is like, well, I need to find a way to get rid of this fish. So I think what he's going to do is, by taking the Rockruff here, I think he actually has the Remoraid in hand as well, is he can try and get into the Lycanroc, use the first benched Rockruff to evolve, to pull it out, to take the KO, instead of having to use a Guzma, because I think he wants to draw more cards this turn as well. He doesn't have that great a hand, I don't think. But something that you'll see as well throughout the game, and in most Buzzwole games, is actually the attachments. So in a lot of games, your attachments are very straightforward. You know exactly where they're going and when. But here, you'll see a lot of the time players are agonising over: do I put it here? Do I not put it here? I mean, you see, he goes exactly for the line I saw of let's just deal with this Remoraid. If you can't draw cards, I don't mind. You know, you got to take a prize card. If you take a prize card, I'm quite happy.
Yeah, obviously he goes for the fairly obvious thing that we've talked about all weekend. It's a case of getting rid of this Octillery, getting your own Octillery out, having that card advantage and drawing cards, as Tord loves doing so much. The only thing that Tord has done now is he's opened up Sledgehammer, Lycanroc on the board as the only 2 prize though, so he is in a safe steadway right now. A baby Buzz wouldn't threaten him too much, just being able to take 1 prize, 2 prizes. But the Guzma comes down and the Buzzwole GX moves up into the active, and I'm guessing Juraj's hand isn't too great if that's all that he's got to pull off this turn. And we'll probably see either the Jet Punch or the Absorption, and the Beast Ring comes down, of course, getting 2 energy.
The thing is, he has 1 basic energy left in deck at this point. So actually taking the 2 energy out is fine. It sets up 1 attacker, but now you need to draw into something like a strong energy or your beast energy onto this active. And the risk with doing that is you can very, very quickly just run out of ways of attacking. You know, he's got to have to take 2 prizes. He's going to need to find an attachment to do so. And in doing this, he's actually going down to...
another beast ring, though.
He's actually going to go down to 4 prize cards, which actually makes Tord's board state an awful lot stronger as well. With already having the strong energy in play, with access to the DNC, he actually could be in a position to ramp this non-GX Buzzwole to take a 1-shot knockout back, which would be, you know, completely changing this game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the line we're going to see. Obviously, this Buzzwole GX setting up and being ready to attack into the active Lycanroc GX. It's got 3 damage on it already, which does mean we will see a knockout on it, but you're more than right, Connor. We are going to see Tord, Sledgehammer and Beast Rings activate now, meaning we might see a Baby Buzz come into the active, take a 1-shot knockout, but we will also most probably see a number of Beast Rings used and perhaps even a GX hit the board.
I was just sorry for a moment there. I was having to do the maths. Okay, what attachments does he need to be able to take this knockout? I was just trying to work it out. I think he's just shy. I think if he benches a Regirock and attaches a strong energy, he's fine.
Beast energy will also work, obviously.
Yep. So I think he was just like, before promoting, he wanted to double check his hand and going, right, oh, he's drawn the choice band. So he's definitely got this. So he's now able to take a 2-prize knockout in response quite nicely. So 120 for Sledgehammer this turn because it's 4 prize cards, 140, 160, 190 with all the damage boosts. And this is just what this deck is all about. It's going from these small 30 chip damage to, okay, suddenly I'm able to take a one-shot on basically everything. And also look at Toad's board. There's not a single GX out yet. I think he might be searching for one now, because this basically means that Juraj cannot play around Beast Ring.
I don't think we will see a GX, to be honest with you.
I think he's just searching his deck to just have a look what's in here.
Yeah, I think that at the minute, if Tord just manages to get more energy on the Baby Buzz on the bench, he is actually able to knock out the Buzz GX on Juraj's bench as well. I think the only time the GX would be correct is if he is able to hit everything he needs in order to just knuckle impact for knockout, absorption becoming less and less effective as the round goes on. We'll see what comes into light now. Does Tord have any beast rings to start setting up his Pokemon as well? We just see the Sledgehammer.
So I don't think
taking 2 prizes.
So this is the nice thing with these Buzzwole decks now, where they don't have 2-prize attack as often. It's a way of just kind of taking the Beast Ring. You have to see on one turn if you use a lot of GX attackers, right? Because if your opponent can take out the 2 prizes, you go from 4 prizes to 2 prizes left, and you're out of the window. Mm-hmm. Here, by not playing a single GX down and attaching to that Rockruff, he's really kind of going, look, you take 1 prize this turn, which means my Beast Ring is still alive. And he's also in a position where he doesn't need that much onto the Rockruff to be able to take a KO. He needs, I think, strong band, and Juraj can't bench anything.
Yeah, that's what I said right at the start of the game, isn't it? I think in this mirror match, Tord's definitely favoured. By forcing a 1-prize game, you're always going to have to fall into the trap of Sledgehammer. You're always going to have to fall into the trap of Beast Ring for not just 1, but 2 different prize situations, allowing Tord more and more time to be able to fully access his deck, fully activate a lot of his cards, and of course be able to just push ahead there as well. But you're so correct with the Rockruff. Again, just one of these threats on the bench that just poses a problem for Juraj. He knows that Rockruff is there. He's probably fully aware of the fact that it's got 1 energy on it, and I'm pretty sure he is scared of it. It's really important that he doesn't bench anything else now.
So off the end to 2, I believe that was a cut that Tord doesn't need to see in an Ultra Ball, which means that there's definitely an Octillery coming down next turn.
Which is pretty good for him. The Rockruff does become active. We need quite a bit for the Lycanroc, so it's 50, 100. A strong energy would make it 120, Diancie 140. No, just there's not really many ways that you can take a knockout with just the 2 bench Pokemon. Maybe the Baby Buzz, the better play to go for here, or if at all possible, he could in fact go for the Buzzwole GX in order to try and knuckle impact for the game.
Well, no, so I think he's here able to hit, if he is able to hit for 160 this turn, he just does this, then he sets up for a Jet Punch KO next turn.
Yeah, even that is fine. Obviously the Abyssal for 5 should give us a little bit more of a turn for Tord, allowing him to draw into perhaps a supporter, maybe some more energy, maybe even some elixirs. He's not used many of them this game. I think just the 1 in the discard, 1 in the prizes for now. So we'll see. He shuffles after grabbing the Octillery, and we will see an Abyssal hand for 5.
Yeah. So we've seen it all weekend. There's a lot of decks now playing ways of, it's an obvious thing. The more cards you have, the more likely you are to win. You have more options, and there are so many decks now just going, right, Octillery, Oranguru, and Zoroark, just to find ways of refreshing their hands, because it means that when you get end down to low hand sides, as long as you still have your abilities, you can just draw.
I will not lie. It is a case for me to where if Octillery fits in a deck, you play it.
Yeah.
I think it's such a good drawing card. Being able to have low hand size, protection against ends as well, protection against judges, protection against red cards.
So Toad's face here is very much these are cards. He said that this happens a lot with the list. He said in general with Buzzwole that you will Sycamore or Abyssal Hand into a hand, and then you look at your 5 cards, 7 cards, and go, okay, how on earth does this work? and you have to take a few minutes to have a think. You can see, I think there's an energy, there's a non-GX Buzzwole I saw in there.
I think the play that needs to be done here, is grabbing the GX. Tord has an energy and an elixir in hand. He just counted out his energy. He's got more for a beast ring as well. He can, in fact, here go for the beast ring, get that down, and he's got the choice band in hand. I'm guessing not, otherwise that would have happened a lot quicker.
Yeah.
However, I think any way that Tord can get 160 damage down, 180 damage down, even with the Diancie, and then of course he is then able to either sledgehammer or just Guzma it out next turn and poke it with anything on his side of the board. The energy.
So I think he's going for the. If I hit this for 160, I only need an energy, and I have the Booklet Hill to be able to basically poke it off the bench.
Well, that's the thing, though. Tord doesn't have a way to poke off the bench if this Buzzwole goes down, is the only thing.
He still has the other Buzzwole GX in deck, so he can go and grab that out of deck.
Doesn't he have one?
They're only playing the one GX now?
Yeah, he's only playing the one GX.
So, but I think with the two count of Super Rod, I think he is fairly likely to find a way of recovering it if he wants to.
It'll be interesting to see what Juraj does here.
Obviously can't attack with this turn.
Of course, but Knuckle and Pad. I think I saw a Guzma in his hand, but it's just a case of getting an energy down to someone that can jump back out of the active as well.
Yep. So he
scoops.
Yeah, he's just gone, look, I can Guzma, but there's actually no way of taking any prizes.
Yeah, I think that he was in a bit of a trap there, bit of a checkmate, simply because if the Buzzwole was to move to the bench, Jet Punch easily could have taken it out. Anything that he moved in the active could also be knocked out, and Tord just then could just wait and wait and wait. Mm-hmm. He had the prize advantage. Juraj had 3 prizes, which is a really awkward amount to be on right at the end of the game, because while your opponent just needs to take 1 knockout, you still need to take 2, whether it be a 2 EX and GX, or whether it be 1 non-GX and 1 GX, but Juraj needing 2 different knockouts in the time that Tord needed 1, and that Buzzwole was just looking too threatening, unfortunately. So Tord cleanly wiping the floor with that game. I think the Baby Buzz is definitely the way to go. Sledgehammer putting in a lot of work there.
Well, so a phrase that people hear a lot is the 7 prize, is kind of thrown around in the competitive scene, is the 7 prize game, forcing the 7 prize game. And that is by basically forcing your opponent to take 5 prize cards on single prizes, and then, and only then, giving them a GX to try and take out. Because what you get from here is, this is how the Buzzwole plays the 7 prize game, is that they will use the Baby Buzzes. Yeah, but so but the way the Buzzwole forces it is actually the other way around. They play basically only non-GX attackers, and then they'll put in 1 at the end to go, right, here's 190 HP for you to walk through when it's too late. And it's a really neat thing for them to be able to exploit, because not only are they a deck that can do incredible damage, but they are also able to kind of force you into positions where you have to take more prize cards than are actually on your table.
Yeah, obviously, Juraj, again, some terrible prizes on his side of the field, as well as starting Diancie. He only plays the 1-1 Remoraid Auxiliary line. Tord doesn't have to waste his time taking it out this game. It's already prized. The Mew in there as well, that's not been able to be used at all so far. And he hits no basic Pokemon in his other hand. Does he have a way to get one out? And he passes. Tord can take a knockout this turn if he plays his cards right.
It would need an awful lot. He'd need to be able to hit multiple elixirs, and I think his hand is also mostly rubbish at the moment. He's looking at this going, I don't.
3 choice band in hand. He Ultra Balls, taking that down.
And you see that he actually got rid of the Booklet Hill. So like we were saying in the first game, he's gone, okay, Juraj's hand has no basics. I will not give him a way of finding any basics.
Yeah, I think Tord's probably going to grab the Diancie here. What he's going to be able to do is allow himself to set up a 2-shot knockout. He's going to pressure a little bit of damage onto the Diancie this turn if he's able to get the energy. I didn't see what was left in his hand, but that's what he will try to do if he does have the energy. Try pressure a 2-shot knockout. Although Juraj does have the N in hand, Tord's going to be really hoping that he isn't able to get a basic out and wrap up this game with half an hour left to go.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of the risks of these decks that are able to do so much, is they are also very capable of doing nothing.
Oh, and Tord attaches 2 Choice Band and has the Sycamore as the last card in his hand. I thought it was another Choice Band, but that Sycamore providing him with 2 Elixir as well. It is a possibility here. It could happen.
Well, not so. Now he's played the Choice Bands, and it's not, because he'd need a way of pivoting the Buzzwole out of the active. He's also prized his 2 Float Stones, so there's no way of getting the Buzzwole out of the active, even if all of his Elixirs hit.
Oh, yeah, they don't play Field Blower. Sad face. Sad times. Tord attacking. Yeah, exactly what I sort of said. Going for the 2-shot knockout here. Sort of pressuring Juraj, making him hit a basic this turn. He hits a strong off his top deck. He does have an N in hand, I believe. He can play that down.
I think they also
and then,
see a
of course,
Sycamore?
I don't think he wants to Sycamore in this position. Getting rid of 2 energy and his elixirs. He needs as much opportunity as possible to get back into the game. He's going to need those energy. Juraj shuffling up here. He needs to hit a basic here, otherwise he does lose this game. A very tense shuffle from him.
Well, so this is the thing with, is like, really speaking, it's quite likely he finds something. He has his 4 Ultra Ball, he has his 3 Brooklet Hill. None of these pieces are prized. But the trick is that he's unlikely to draw naturally into one of his basics because he's managed to prize a few of them. He's prized the Mew, the Buzzwole. He's kind of, unfortunately, having to find ways of searching for them. But he does see I think he sees a
Regirock and an Ultra Ball, so he is safe if he wants to make himself safe, that is. I doubt that we'll see the Regirock come down here, though. I imagine it'll be Ultra Balled away. A big Pokemon to get stuck in the active this early in the game. I'm sure he doesn't want that. He needs as much time as possible to be able to set up, and a Regirock stuck in the active is the last thing he needs in order to do that.
Yeah, it's a really tough decision here because he will likely want to keep the Elixir, because he will be in a position of wanting to try and catch back up. He's behind in this game because of the attachment to the DNC, at least towards the attachments to places where they're useful. So he's going to probably want to keep things like this.
The Guzma and the Choice Band, leaving the Regirock in hand. It'll be a question now of whether he does actually bench the Regirock this turn. I personally don't think it's the right play. It could get stuck in the active quite easy there. Not much access to too many other things in Juraj's hand after this. He does grab the Baby Buzz, however, that Diancie needed another energy to move out of the active spot though. We see the Elixir come down and he'll be hoping to hit here in order to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation because it's a case of, right, I need to just find a way of not being completely out of this game still, because currently we're not in this game. And he's now touching to the DNC. There's like at least I can retreat. It's not as bad as the first game, where if he tried to do that in the first game, he threw away most of his energy. So at least here he's able to find a way to get back something that he wants to attack with into the active position.
Yeah, of course. I think that getting that second attachment was really important from there. He needed to start applying a little bit of pressure back. That Diancie now holding the energy, while towards Baby Buzz is the one holding his damage. Sorry, Diancie isn't holding any energy. I meant damage. That's what I was trying to say. We see the Ultra Ball coming down for Tord. Looks like he's opting to get rid of the Super Rod, however, goes against it. He can use that to get back any of the other things he discards in his hand, Pokemon-wise. And he goes to the Brooklet Hill and the Lycanroc by the looks of things.
So the Lycanroc is fine because obviously he just put it back. The Brooklet Hill makes a lot of sense here as well because his board's kind of set up. Juraj's is not. So it's the same situation as earlier. So yeah, that also works because I think what Tord could do here is if he finds a strong energy this turn. I think he has a Sycamore in hand, so he is able to search for it. So he can actually Lycanroc for the Diancie and take it out. Just get rid of one of the damage boosters. It also means that if Juraj does then bench GX stackers, he's able to find ways to go to 3 prizes to make it a little bit less likely that he gets responded on.
I think the one knockout that Tord doesn't want to take here is the Regirock EX until he can actually jump down to 3, again skipping over Juraj's Baby Buzzwole. The attachment goes down onto the Rockruff. As expected, again, Tord really showing that Rockruff is posing a threat. Dangerous Rogue ready to come in if Juraj decides to overbench at all. And I imagine with 2 damage buffers and no other attackers on the board so far for him, he's going to need another bench Pokemon.
Yeah, so what Tord's doing here is really kind of forcing the issue. Okay,
so he actually pulls up the Regirock. trying to lock it in there.
So Juraj to get to the attacker last turn had to play down his whole hand. So Toad kind of knows he has a few turns where he can just keep setting up slowly work his way into a position where he's actually setting up for. I think he's probably going to be looking to take a 3-price turn. There's a potential chance for him to be able to go in and take the Regirock and maybe the Dancy if he does the Jet Punches if he wants to switch to that. But then he has to bench a GX, which he's already benched one. Benching one is okay. He doesn't really want to bench a second at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and we see Abyssal Hand come down here, so we're going to see 5 cards float their way into Toad's hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Juraj not looking impressed at all. Not had the best of draws. He's got rid of his whole hand. Not too much else going on there. And now he's got this bulky Regirock stuck in the active. I said it right from the start. By benching Regirock, you run the risk of it being stuck in the active. Without a floatstone myself, which Juraj does play 2 of.
I'm surprised. So the odds of drawing into it are also lower. He doesn't really want to Guzma at this stage, because in Guzmaing at this stage he doesn't have access to them later on in the game when they're useful to take KOs.
The Sycamore looking like it provides enough for Tor. The Beast Energy going down on the Buzz on the bench as well, and he just hits again.
So yeah, it's a really tricky game because at this point,
Juraj
Tord
still nothing.
Yeah, he's got
absolutely nothing, and Tord will just get to start his turn again. And I think that is pretty much gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah,
missing 2 turns is just not an acceptable position to be in. Obviously, giving one of the best players in the world 2 free turns. Juraj scoops. He knew there was really nothing else he could do. That was really unfortunate for him. Unfortunately, he didn't get to play much in either of those games. First game, really awful